Right.
Okay, so hello everyone. This is Lou Martin. This is my YouTube channel, Awakened Spirits Network. I have the great honor and pleasure, truly, of chatting here with my new friend Luke, who's going to have to repeat his wonderful Irish surname in a moment. Who's 85 and has many great stories. And he and I are both involved in LifeWave and the X39 patches. And Luke has a lifetime of experience. We're gonna try to squeeze some of it into 30 minutes or so, and I want to introduce this wonderful new friend to everyone. So, Luke, good morning from Ireland. Good afternoon to Australia.
And to you too, in Ireland and all the rest of the world.
Thank you, thank you. Say your surname again for us.
Okay, actually, it's Lucas, Lucas, which has Egyptian origin, and I
Ah,
understand it means the light.
okay,
Uh, and the last name is Manikaros, and I say tongue in cheek, facetiously Irish,
right.
when in fact it's Greek.
There we go. Thank you. I knew I was computing that for some reason, but we keep you at the pub all night long, my friend. You've got a lot of great stories and all that. So tell us a little bit about your connection with LifeWave and what the patches have done for you, if you want to start there, and then we'll go into some of your experience with network marketing, if you would.
Well, sure. Probably the prelude to involvement with the likes of LifeWave uh, goes right back to being spending a lot of time in New Guinea after the Second World War. And we went up there in September the 9th, 1949, when I was a young fellow.
Okay.
Uh, and because of the various threats to health and well-being in New Guinea in those days, we were into preventative medicine.
This would be like malaria and things like this, or
Yeah, yeah, we had a whole raft of those types of things, right? We
okay.
were a pretty hardy sort of a race, actually, because we used to have our water come off the roof and into old fuel drums from the Second World War, and the tank was full of mold and buggers and grubs and all that sort of stuff. But we
Well,
survived, you know.
yes.
And so it was a pioneer status. And so you had to have an open mind if you were to have any ingenuity and abilities to survive in what one might call pioneer status circumstances, right?
Yes, sure.
Uh, and when I then was lucky enough to go away to Christian Brothers boarding school in Charters Towers with Irish brothers, actually, Pete
Okay.
McSweeney was a great guy.
Uh,
Um, we, we were very. I was very, very lucky to have my Christian faith consolidated, and that led me to having a prayerful type life. So
Beautiful.
if I found myself under threat, apart from praying, I would look to see what the alternatives were. And
Right.
I was lucky enough during my college holidays to be headhunted to work in the Department of Health in New Guinea, which gave me an understanding of various medications and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
The important point to come out of it was to always look for preventing in the ideal situation instead of curing.
Sure.
Uh, and I suppose one might say I was fortunate enough to have had malaria a couple of times. And with malaria, and this does lead to stem cells, surprisingly,
Okay.
with malaria, once you have that parasite in your body, every
Yes.
time you will get any sort of an ailment, chest infections or otherwise, you have the hot and cold shakes, and one minute you're freezing, the next minute you're hot, and so on and so on.
Wow.
Now, and I carried that for many years, so that any time that I would get sick,
Mm.
uh, that would come up.
Wow.
When I joined the Australian Air Force, the adverse effects of that almost kept me out of flying and then other things in the Australian Air Force. And so I was always looking for cures, always looking for what were the alternatives, right?
Yes.
And so over the many, many years, that led me to things like hydrogen peroxide
Yeah.
treatments,
Yeah.
uh, which is a great cleanser. And
Yes.
there's a book out there called Hydrogen Peroxide, The Miraculous Medicine by Dr. Douglas, Douglas, which is an incredibly good read because it's got case histories and it shows where the alternatives are.
Yeah.
Uh, and as with pharmaceuticals and with alternatives, there's always the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
So one has to be conscious. So that led me to studying a variety of things. And when I got onto the hydrogen peroxide, which led me then to the miraculous medicine called sodium chlorite, what I found was that after ingesting that for a period of about 2 months, the malaria parasite left my body.
Okay.
And so, I was always keen to find out what else was out there.
Yes.
Despite the fact that my career went into engineering and federal government stuff, I was an airport inspector for the Department of Civil Aviation in New Guinea at 27 years of age.
Huh?
And I was out into private enterprise about 68, 69 to earn a bit more money because I was married with children.
Yeah.
And I was able to pursue all sorts of things,
Right.
a lot of which was health.
Right.
And one of my careers led me to do a lot of sickness and accident insurance and all that sort of stuff as an investment advisor. And so I was meeting people that had all these ailments. And apart from being able to secure their lives financially with a thing like insurance, I would be able to talk meaningfully about things like malaria infection, parasitic infection, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Sure.
you can go through life and keep yourself fairly healthy. And I guess I've had my share of challenges, but I've managed to always get on top of them and stay alive. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be talking to you now.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Well done.
and so I in my lifetime, in staying healthy, I run something like about 25,000 kilometers in my lifetime.
Huh?
And I played high grade sports, water polo, football, all sorts of stuff. So there were injuries and all that sort of thing.
Sure.
And I also had an accident and broke my neck and my back, which meant that I had to look to the curative situations again.
Right.
And one of the curative situations, which is absolutely essential, is to have the right frame of mind.
Sure. Sure.
Now, that was in the old vernacular called PMA, right? Positive mental attitude.
Okay.
Because if I think I can, I can. If I think I can't, I can't. And if I
Right.
think I can't, I won't.
Right.
And so having that positive mental attitude is supreme.
Right. Right. Brilliant. Yeah.
And my whole approach to it with the various things that happened to me in my lifetime, and I've been at death's door a couple of times,
Yes.
is you just don't give up.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one needs to also be somewhat analytical is one word, skeptical is another word. And I long ago found out that was evidenced in various ways
Yeah.
that there was a lot of adverse effects in traditional medicine.
Mhm.
Traditional medicine, otherwise known as the major pharmaceutical operations, with adverse effects every way, which way.
Sure. Sure.
Uh, and I always thought that there was a reset button in my body somewhere.
Huh.
And I would say to various practitioners that would look after me, naturopaths, chiropractors, osteopaths, remedial masseurs, etc.,
Right.
where's the reset button? Now,
Yes.
they talk about the vagus nerve, they talk about the pituitary gland, they talk about all of these sort of things, right?
Sure.
Uh, and so I was always open-minded and studied, in fact, parasitic infection under Dr. Hilda Clark, and then
Yes.
subsequently remotely through Dr. Jennifer Daniels, MD, MBA, USA, now Panama. And
Right.
so I started on the road for cleaning and maintaining my body's health.
Beautiful.
And the cleansing process is terribly, terribly, terribly important because there's a lot of things that come along that want to upset, my good health, well-being, my mentality, etc., etc.
Sure.
And having got to this point in time and still working and doing some business things that would surprise a lot of people, I must be doing something right,
Good. Yeah. Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so fairly recently, I was surprised actually, having been active and athletic and determined and blah, blah,
Yeah.
that, and mate, I've been in crocodile infested waters, I've been in shark infested waters, I've crashed aeroplanes. I sailed the Atlantic in '92 from Florida all the way to up to Ibiza and up into Mallorca and all that sort of stuff through
Yeah.
the through the what do you call it? Anyway, cross that ocean there,
Yeah.
and survive that, and
Oh,
that was an interesting episode. But anyway,
yes. I'm
uh,
sure.
back back to the health thing. You see,
Okay. All right.
uh, when I then eventually came back to Australia after working in variously in Canada, America, Hong Kong, Europe, England, and other places on different consultancies. I was back here in Australia, busting my fur to get going again because in the sort of life I've led, there's a lot of ups and downs. You're
Sure.
not always on the right side of it, and you very often can make bad decisions because of yourself. but also you can make a few bad decisions in your lifetime, take the wrong turn because of events and things that happen, like
Sure.
government pandemics over which you have no control.
Sure.
And so you've got to keep an open mind and stay on, and you say, well, okay, what else can I do
Right.
uh, to be more healthy, stay alive, worthwhile doing something or anything with, and looking at the various alternatives. And so all of a sudden, when I was working out at the gym, and I go to the gym still 4 to 5 days a week,
Wow, man.
and I do exercise and all sorts of stuff. I get into the cold pool at 9 degrees. I get into the hot pool at 32 degrees, loaded with magnesium and all that sort of stuff.
That's awesome.
And people see me working out there and they say, how do you do this? And I say, well, I'm doing something right. Let me tell you the story.
Yeah.
And so, but all of a sudden I had a heart attack.
Oh,
Uh,
dear.
and I thought, what the hell?
Yeah.
I wished I'd have listened to my then wife, because she said your heart's going, and I didn't, who takes notice of their wives? What would you know? This is my heart.
Yeah.
And I wish more men should take notice of their wives,
Well,
ladies.
there's a thought.
And so that was of itself an interesting story, insofar as when I eventually went to the doctor,
Yeah.
I was 1 hour away from dead.
My goodness.
And they all said to me, Luke, this is very serious.
Yeah.
And I'd like to bring this in because it's so important.
Yeah.
I do what I can to be, I was unconscious, but then became a more conscious and active Christian because I pray a lot. And I
Yes.
recently rewrote the 121st Psalm, and I carry that with me, and that's prayer to God, look after me, protect me, and carry. Anyway, when I was in that ambulance, Lou,
Yeah.
the ambo, who were ex-war vets, he said, pretty serious, mate. And I wasn't thinking about what was or what I had or where I'd been. I said, I'm dying and I'm going home.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
that's very important in our discussion,
Sure.
because if for that belief that I've got a spirit
Yeah.
which can turbocharge the things that I do, like think, like talk, like act,
Yes.
and I get invited to do some pretty big business, right?
Mm.
And still do. I'm working on some stuff to help the government out of a couple of things here at the present moment. It's called sovereign funds. And anyway, I woke up and I thought, well, this is not heaven. And the lady said, let me get you a cup of tea and a sandwich, which I was very thankful for.
Yeah.
And so when you have a heart valve replacement,
Okay.
the doctors will say to you, you'll probably need a pacemaker in the next 12 months. Well, almost of the day, I'm back in the pool at the gym again and I have another heart attack.
Wow.
And so they saved my life again. I was 1 hour away from dead, and I'm still here.
Yes.
Okay. So once your heart has had an attack like that, as with any other organ, whether it's kidneys, liver, or lungs, or whatever else, they become susceptible.
Yeah.
And so you have to very consciously think, what can I do to fix that issue in my body?
Sure.
And again, I repeat myself ad nauseum, keep an open mind, have a look around, because
Yeah.
with my spiritual thinking, not religious, my spiritual thinking,
Yes, I'm with you.
when I am open to receive,
Yeah.
and I need some help,
Yeah.
then the message comes into me.
Amen.
And I was at a meditation class one day around about coming up 4 months ago now here in Brisbane City.
Yeah.
What am I doing in a meditation class and at a citadel with a whole mixture of international people,
Right.
We get to talking and I meet Tim Carroll, who you know
Oh,
well.
yes, indeed.
Another very good, wise Irishman. And the Irishmen play a fair part in my life because of the Christian brothers and all that sort of stuff, right?
Right.
And mates like Tommy Dooley that I went to school with and so on and so on, right?
Yeah.
And we got to talking about health. And Tim said to me, have you heard about stem cells and LifeWave?
Mhm.
And I said, yes, I have. I was in Canada in 1990 something. I worked in American Canada through 86, right through 96 and so on around the world, as I said. And a lady friend there, Bev Woodburn, God bless her, still alive, my age, got the heart of an angel and the face of a cherub. Lovely lady. And she introduced me to stem cell type stuff back in those days, but it was not stem cells, life waves, as in David Schmidt's stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm bulletproof. Even though I had a broken neck and a broken back at that point in time, I was still out and about scuba diving, climbing mountains, water skiing, chopping down trees and all that sort of stuff, right? And getting in and out of marriages too, I might say.
Okay.
Anyway, and so Tim and God bless her, Edge invited me around to their place
Yeah.
and it gave me the full explanation on David's thing.
Yeah.
And I was able to look at that interview with the radio fellow who was very cynical and skeptical in the beginning,
Oh,
the one
yes.
about the guy whose father fell over on the skis and so on, you know.
Yes.
And then when David goes through his full detailed explanation of how it all came together, what happened, and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And at the end, more convincing me even further, I should say,
Yeah.
was when some of the bloke wasn't a skeptic, and he said, "I do believe, and my father's okay after only 2 weeks instead of forever
Yeah.
being injured."
Yeah.
And David said, and somebody said, "Well, you're a pretty smart guy, David." And he said, "No," he said, "I got it from God. I got
Yeah.
it from heaven." So
Yeah.
that was the Christian spiritual thing for me, right?
Sure.
Because as I've already said, I've always believed when I needed help,
Yeah.
some information would come in for me.
Amen.
So I took that as there it is. There's the message, right?
Yes. Yes.
And Tim and Eds were very wonderful people who
Yeah.
facilitated my having some stem cells. And I at that point in time, my heart was going again with a parasitic infection called amyloidosis,
Okay.
which is a radical protein that doesn't leave your body when it's disposed when it's finished using it. And it will seek out and invade after morphing into this parasitic type invader going through your liver with a radical gene that helps it metamorph. And it will invade an organ and it will occupy the porotic space in the muscle, like honeycomb and like concrete. And it was invading my heart, and it had already caused the heart muscle to freeze up by 17% when it was discovered after what they said was another silent heart attack.
Wow.
And they said, "Hey, if we can't get on top of this, it's parasitic, it's aggressive. We don't know where it come from. We don't know why it does this, and we don't know how to stop it.
Yeah.
We think we could with a Pfizer thing called Vindamax." And they said, "You'll be dead in 180 days." So
Right.
ever since December 23, mid-December, after coming back from up the country and for 13 and a half hours of driving back because I knew something was wrong, all of a sudden I'm on a death list. And I think, okay, fine. So you better believe it. I kept praying, and when
That's
things are not good, you pray even harder.
absolutely.
And so I was praying, and Tim turned up with that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Then I went back for a 6-month interview with this doctor, professor, who I best not name, I suppose, at this point in time. And the products that were advised, pharmaceuticals. So I've never been a real in favor of a lot of pharmaceuticals. I know they do some good, but if you get the adverse effects of them, they frighten the living daylights out of you, and you've got to either choose to die from the adverse effects of some of those things, or whatever else it might be, like a heart attack. And so I was given this medication, which would have cost $10,000 for me to get it, or up to $100,000 a year. And they gave it to me. And when I got the adverse effects, I said, "No, I'm sticking with the now stem cells."
Yeah.
And so I didn't take that thing, right? And I had to go back on the 21st of February, which is about 20 days after I'd started on the stem cells, both the Aon and the X39. And they do their ECGs and they do their blood tests and that sort of stuff, right? And doctors used to giving you bad news, right? Not good news.
Yeah.
Because if you're not sick, the doctor's not going to make any money.
Right.
And if you're not sick, the pharmaceuticals aren't going to get to sell their pills
Sure.
and their other things, right?
Yeah.
And so whilst they might have a place in society, and I guess they do, they weren't for me. And so when I went into him and I said, "Righto, what's the diagnosis?" And this professor said to me on the 21st of February, he said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And I, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I said, "What's happening, Darius?" He said, "The attack on your heart has stopped."
Great. Great. How long had you been on the X39 at that point?
About 18 to 21 days.
Okay.
Religiously, 12
Yeah.
hours front and back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's the way.
And one of the things that I do there as an aside, and I know it's not recommended, is if the adhesive is still working okay, I will say remove them from my belly button and my rear of my neck, And keep in mind, I've got a broken back and a broken neck, and I've carried that for years, and I'm still not a quad or a para or in a wheelchair, despite the fact they said I would be.
Well,
And I would relocate them to somewhere else. Now, they say you can put them on either side of your knee if you've got a knee injury. Well, I had a back operation and it was aching, and I put them on my hips, and I might have 3 or 4 patches on the hips. And I can say to you in all truth, my back is not aching anywhere near as much as it was,
brilliant.
and
Brilliant.
when I'm standing, walking, sleeping, or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, and so he said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And he said, I'll see you in 6 to 12 months' time. So
That's
then I got to go back to the guy who put the pacemaker in and saved my life.
right.
And he said, what are you doing? I said,
Yeah.
Michael, why? He said, mate, he said, your heart valve, your pacemaker, I should say, is working perfectly.
Yes.
He
Yes.
said, we gave you a 10-year life battery 4 years ago. And he said, you still got 9 years and 3 months left.
Amazing. Amazing.
So he said, even though I'd had some what called atrial fibrillation, which is a fluctuation of the two valves that don't synchronize,
Right.
and I might have died at that point in time if I'd have had thick blood and all that sort of stuff, right? And now I'm on a series of medications, blood pressure tablets, anti-diuretics, anti-blood coagulants, and all that. And
Right.
I said, I don't want to take those. I want to reduce the strength, and I'm going to keep on the stem cells.
Yes. Yes.
And so then I go off to the guy who's put the valve in. Now he's mentored by this other professor I mentioned earlier, and he sort of sends you there to try to overcome this amyloidosis threat.
Right.
And when I go to him, and he's done the TAVI valve, and there was some suggestion that the heart muscle might have been hardening because of the heart trying to reject the TAVI valve, but that doesn't turn out to be true. But it was a thought. And he said, mate, he said, your valve is working perfectly. It's well seated and all that sort of stuff. He said, you've got another valve that's leaking a little bit, but he said, it's not urgent. It's not getting any worse. He said, your heart is sounding normal, strong. Your blood pressure is good at 110 on 68 to 74
Right.
with a heart rate of about 61, maybe 65. So he said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I'll see you in October or November.
Brilliant. So Luke, let me jump in for a second. This is absolutely fantastic. So how long have you been on the patches as of now?
I would say, let's see, about 14 weeks.
14 weeks. Okay.
Yes.
3 months, a little bit longer. Yeah. Okay,
Mhm.
great. And
Now, you
so
want
you
to ask me
yeah, well
what?
you're giving the medical feedback is great, but how about for yourself? What are you noticing personally on your day-to-day experience?
Well, people say to me, "How do you feel?"
Right.
Now, I used to say I feel like a 60-year-old, not an 85-year-old.
Okay.
And when I said I feel like a 60-year-old, I wish I could find one. They all have a bit of a laugh.
Okay.
So now, when they see me at the gym and they see what I'm doing, whether it's
Yeah.
swimming or doing push-ups or pulling weights or whatever,
Right.
how do you feel? I said, well, now I feel like a 50-year-old.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's what I imagine. Yeah, very, very good. Fantastic. Well,
and
so
and so
yeah, let me just jump in 1 second. You've got an amazing life, brother, and you have an incredible story to tell. And we should get you a book deal and a movie deal before the end of the day, honestly.
hey,
But let me
50
just,
Shades of Grey will have nothing on it,
yeah,
Lou.
you've captured my heart entirely, my friend. I promise you. But let's, in terms of honoring our time here today, um, you've done a lot with network marketing, is what I hear you say.
Yes, yes,
Can you
yes.
share some of that wisdom with those of us that are here?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, first and foremost, a long time ago, when I had and I've had a variety of careers. I was, as I said, I was a pilot. I was an engineer. I've had my own earth-moving businesses, etc., etc. But I long ago realised that when they were talking about network marketing and benigning, and what's the word, maligning it by saying it was pyramidal and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yes,
Well,
yes. Trashing
it's
it.
all business structures are the same. You've got the managing director, you've got the others, you've got the others, you've got the others, you've got the others, and all that sort of stuff. And so I thought, well, network marketing is excellent. I got involved because of what I've already seen with things like Herbalife and that type of stuff,
Okay.
um, New Ways, Medare, and others. And I was reasonably successful with it, right? I always had other careers keeping me busy, so I could have given it even some more.
Sure.
But what I realized was, first and foremost, as with the investment advisory stuff I did, The network marketing area was a tremendous area for being educated at no big cost, like for secondary, tertiary, specialized skilled educations, right?
Yes.
Because they wanted you to be successful, they wanted you to be helpful. It was teamwork together, everybody accomplishes more,
Yes.
everyone helping everybody else, and having integrity, ethics, and principles, and a product that was proven to work.
Yes. Very
Okay,
important.
but one of the other profound things that I said, and I've said this many times, that
Yeah.
nothing I came to realize as an advisor in many ways, and a consultant in many ways, and even today, that nothing in the whole world economies happen unless a sale is made.
Right.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what sort of a product is, whether it's a skill set, whether it's a product, whether it's a technology, whatever. Nothing happens in the way of economics and commerce until a sale is made.
Yeah.
Not the inventor, not the intellectual property holder,
Yeah.
not the manufacturer, the salesman.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
And
That's right.
often those other people are not salespeople, and they have to go and find salespeople. The
Right.
point I'm there is
Yeah.
there's always a job for salespeople.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you've got some other high technical degree or something like that.
Sure.
You look around the world today, how many secure permanent jobs are there out there? There's not very many, in which case, have a look and see what you can go and sell. And if you can't find something, invent something.
Sure. No,
Make
that's
something.
wisdom.
I got books full of inventions that one day I keep on promising to bring to the market.
Okay.
And then I get to with things like stem cells.
Okay.
So the stem cells, when you look at the network marketing program, all the backup and the support, and as I said, and I have written an item which I can send to you, and it
Yeah.
needs a bit of work on the taxation and that sort of stuff. What's the good, the bad, and possibly the negative? I won't say uglies about this opportunity. Well, it's not a job, as I said in one of the
Sure.
last meetings. I said it's a career opportunity,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Well
Uh,
said.
and
Yeah.
and how many people, without having been to university and stuff like that, think that they can't have a career?
Exactly. It's an instant career opportunity. You said it beautifully. Yes.
Yeah, and a career is something that, number one, is worthwhile doing. Number two is you can get passionate about doing it
Yeah.
because you have that persona where you'd like to do something that's meaningful and helpful.
Yeah.
And what's not meaningful and helpful about people being healthier and
Yeah.
having a better well-being, have a better mentality, and living a longer life,
Yeah.
and improving other aspects of your life,
Beautiful.
including the financial possibilities.
Exactly. All right. That's a perfect segue for me, my friend. So tell me what you see about LifeWave. See, I'm absolutely new to all this. I'm 9 months into my patches and sharing the patches with people and learning about network marketing from the inside out now. And as I said, you've got great stories, you've got great energy, you've got a heart of gold, you're living life to the full. It's just a delight to get to know you and share you with everyone. What do you see about LifeWave that is a cut above, unique, inspiring you to give your time and your energy to it?
Well, having had the experiences that I had where using them has benefited my health, and I'll just touch on that briefly. Whereas previously at my gym, after recovery from stomach cancer as well, I might say,
I see.
which they said that after the operation said, "Yeah, all your lymph nodes are clear. You've beaten it again with the alternatives," right?
Okay.
After the experience, and then having the experience that I had, and then looking at the the very convincing, and I have an analytical mind, and I question,
I
and
see
I
that, Luke. I see that,
that
brother. Yes.
I do tend to go out in trust, and that's okay because you got to watch what's happening there, and it doesn't take long to lose trust. It takes a long time to earn it.
Well
And
said.
I felt first of all impressed with David Schmidt and the whole story about how he created it, invented it, made it work, and made it work from a win-win-win point of view.
Brilliant.
And I
Brilliant.
can see that with that sort of thinking in structuring the whole thing in every aspect, right?
Yes.
That's what it is. And
Yes.
anything that is, there's only two types of business. It's either win-win or it's win-lose. And if you play win-lose, it's lose-lose.
Yes. Yes.
Because,
Yes.
because once someone's been on the losing side, guess what? They don't come back to that person and give them another go at
That's
making
right.
them be losers.
That's right. Of course.
Right? And
Yeah.
so there's a win-win situation, and there's a win-win-win situation even if you only use the patches and if you don't get into the business.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Having said that, and as I did say last week, not just Modere and New Ways that have now got thousands of people that are going out. And I almost married one of the naturopaths in that business back in 98, 99.
Right.
God bless her. She's still alive.
Yeah.
And I think she's into stem cell life waves herself again now. And I said,
Okay.
no, I'm with other people here.
Yeah.
Um, and so every industry around the world, every nation around the world has now got industries that are in trouble, China and everybody else.
Yeah.
And a lot of people out there who are no longer able to get either to get full-time secure employment.
Yes.
Um, and they've been educated to have jobs, but all of a sudden they turn around and they say, I can't get a job.
Yeah.
The government misrepresents this stuff. Unfortunately, we don't get the honest truth out of a lot of governments around the world these days. They
Yes.
tell you falsities.
It's a long
And
list.
and
Yes.
so they're saying, well, how do I survive if you can't get
Yeah.
social security benefits? We're blessed with some social security benefits in Australia.
Yes.
If I can't get those, what the heck do I do?
Sure, man.
And sitting there like I was from
Yeah.
time to time and saying, okay,
Yeah.
what now?
Yeah.
What else can I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're not being offensive to anybody who we can say what Tim said to me. Have you heard about life stem cells and life waves and what it can do for you?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And so that's the beginning of the conversation. Now, Ed's and I have been out with a Greek mate of mine this afternoon for a very long lunch, and he's unwell. And we come at it from the point of view, he's in an incredible network of businesses around the world,
Yeah.
and he's a mercenary soldier and all sorts of stuff, and an incredibly healthy looking Greek, but he's not all that well. And we said, let us tell, because he's now
Yeah.
saying, what do I do? I've got this, I got that. And so
Yeah.
let us tell you about stem cells, life waves business, and here's how it works, and this is what it's done. And I can't see a section in the whole of the process that is not win, win, win.
I agree.
Right.
Yes. Well said. Beautifully. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but David Schmidt is the backbone of the credibility
Yeah.
of the intellectual property of the sciences, and I've said to some engineering mates at church today, I said,
Yes.
when I tell you about this, you are not going to believe the way this works. And there is, with an engineering mind, whatever it might be, you
Yeah.
are cynic. Whoever told us that your stem cells, which are benign or sleeping in your body when you get to our age,
Yeah.
can be activated by light,
Exactly.
by
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
And John said to me today at the church, he said, there must be an injection involved. There must be some chemistry involved. I said, yes, John, you are not going to believe it. For God's sake, go and look at this. He's 83 and he's had open heart surgery. Go
Right.
and look at this. You're not going to believe the way this works.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
you do open your mind and say, well, I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
How does the engine in the
Right.
mitochondria engine, how does it work and vibrate? It does.
Right.
Who'd have ever thought it was activated by light? So it's mind blowing.
Yes.
And if you just say if you say it's placebo, well, placebo works both ways. It either says yes, I can, or no, I can't. Well, either one will be true.
Sure.
And if it's not placebo or psychosomatic, well, that'll work. That works for me.
Sure.
Uh, and so it's got such credibility. The
Yeah.
credibility is added to by the way you got all the back office support, all the team effort, all the ethics, the principles, and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
And if you do nothing else except make enough money to be able to pay for all your own product, for your own health, for your longer life,
Yes.
well, that's a win-win-win situation. And if you
100%.
can carry it forward to help somebody else to have all of that,
Yes. Yes.
then that's the reason that God leaves people like me here. Because if you're a good person trying to do good in the world, and he knows this world needs good people, he
Yes.
leaves us here. And that old saying about only the good die young is
Ah,
not true.
right on. Well done. Well done. Beautifully said, my friend. Beautifully said. Well, Luke, I think I could chat here with you all day long, brother, but I think that is the summit of the mountain for our time here together. And I'm just so grateful for all your passion and wisdom and experience and vision and sharing all this with us. Anything else you want to say as we come down the home stretch here?
Uh, yes, and I say this very, very, very sincerely.
Yeah.
Yes, and it would be a long cup of coffee or a very big book.
Some of your turbocharged,
Um,
yeah.
if you don't know where you are going, how are you going to get there?
Exactly.
And if you don't know where you're going, Lou, in the middle of the night when I'm there on my own and I can't get to sleep, and I think I'll pray to it, and I do,
Yes. Amen.
and I have my various prayers,
Good
and
man.
I say, show me the way.
I'm with you.
And it's surprising how before I wake up, there'll be an email, there'll be a
Yes.
telephone call.
Yes.
Now, last night, when I was in the middle of the night and I'd had this call from Telly Canadas, the Greek mate I mentioned yesterday,
Yeah.
at about midnight to 2 o'clock, I woke up and I said, he sent me an email. He's unwell. Things are not good. I have to talk to him ASAP.
Yeah.
Okay, this was about 2:30. So I got up and I did a very long email to Edge to ask her to come with me and to Telly to say, I can meet you today instead of Tuesday
Yeah.
because I've got this sensation that I must talk to you. And
Sure.
it came at night time.
Yes.
When
Yes.
we got together with lunch today at 2:30 in the morning, he was having an argument with his wife and she called the police on him
Oh boy.
and he was in deep trouble.
Yeah.
That was exactly the time that I woke up and said,
Yeah.
talk to Telly as
Yes.
soon as
Yes.
you can't leave it till Tuesday.
Yeah.
So those things are evidence to me
Yes.
that if I sincerely ask for guidance,
Yeah.
right, and I'm
Yeah.
being evangelical here,
No, you're fine.
uh, then I'm given directions,
Amen.
and I can choose to follow them or not,
Of
right?
course. Of course.
So
Wise men
that's
follow those. Wise men follow those directions, Luke. Yeah.
oh well, that's right, and
That's
so if you get out of bed every day and you say I'm open to be guided, what
yes.
can I do today to make the world a better place?
There
What
you
can I
go.
do?
There.
Very quickly, coming down the escalator in the shopping centre yesterday, I was behind this people. All of a sudden, the elevator stopped the escalator, and this lady with this Indian sari type dress on, the dress had got caught down into the mechanisms
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
escalator,
Yeah.
and it was pulling her dress off her, and she was down about the lowest three levels. And two or three guys pulled up and couldn't do anything to help, and she was embarrassed and panicking. I
Mm.
pulled up and I had nothing to cut it loose with and pull it out, and it stopped. And so I dug my keys out of my pocket and I just ripped it apart
Mm.
and set her free. And she was so panicked, she just walked away and didn't say anything, and
God
nobody else
bless.
said anything. And I just got up and walked away, and I thought, "Oh, I've done something good today," you know. And I was on that elevator for a reason. I was the
Absolutely.
only guy that pulled up to fix that up and do it. I didn't have a knife in my pocket or anything like that. And I'm tearing at this thing, and I went away there feeling elated.
Um,
Because if you can go through your day and say, gee, I done something good today. Thanks, big
yes.
guy. Thanks for telling me. Thanks for putting me in a direction. Thanks for putting me at that point and that place at that time.
Yes. Exactly.
And that's just one. I have other stories, but
Uh,
that's for another time, Lou.
you and I will have to do a part two, my friend. Yeah, no, this is brilliant. I did, as I said, I'm just so grateful for all your wisdom and experience and for meeting you through LifeWave. I mean, here's another example for me personally. The people like yourself and Eds and Tim and Tessa and everyone that I've met through LifeWave have just been extraordinary. And when you're onto a good thing because the quality of the people involved in it are, at this level. Conscious people, loving people, generous people, spiritual people, people with a vision, people with passion for life, people that are looking for opportunities to help the world. I'm in, and again, Luke, it's just wonderful to connect with you. And I know we'll do a part two. Let me just leave it here for right now because I want to make sure we've done everything on my little checklist. We've given you space to introduce yourself to people that would see the video here on LifeWave and otherwise. And hopefully we've given people a lot to think about. I know you have about why this is something to know about, to look into the X39 biophotonic stem cell patches and how they absolutely are giving us reversing our aging and an opportunity to help the world find its health and the opportunity to help to share this with people. All of that is just wonderful, and you're just such an inspiration. So, from my heart to yours, brother, thanks a million, as we say in Ireland. It's a joy to connect with you. You're a very spiritual man, and you're definitely a hero to myself and all of us here today because you've shared yourself so deeply and so freely, and you're a great inspiration and example. So thank you so much, Luke. Yeah.
One closing comment.
Yes, sir. I knew you would.
When God is with us, nothing can come against us.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Yeah, we ask for help. The help is given, and it's the measure of our wisdom that we know that to do that and to share that with each other, as you've done so beautifully here today. So, Luke, my friend, thank you so much. I'm going to see you in 20 minutes with Tessa for our last training. Happy Easter to you, my Christian brother. Yeah, and we'll look forward to a part 2 very soon. How does that sound?
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time, Lou. God be with you.
You too, brother. God bless you.